Welcome to the West Virginia Case Podcast, hosted by Les Odell. Join us as we dive deep into all things strange, including Bigfoot, aliens, ghosts, and more. Pull up a chair and set for a spell. It's going to be a great time. Now, without further delay, let's get the show started.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey folks, welcome back to the West Virginia Case Podcast. Tonight we're going to have Larry Sidwell on. Larry is a veteran when it comes to Bigfoot. He's been on many expeditions. He is a BFRO member. He's also a Bigfoot researcher and investigator outside of the organization. He has a lot of insight that I can't wait to hear about. I can't wait to hear some of his stories, and I definitely I'd like for him to share his one personal experience that happened here in West Virginia. So we'll bring him on here in a few minutes. And as always, folks, if you have a sighting or if you had an experience, whether it's Bigfoot, whether it's ghosts, aliens, or anything strange, you can always email me at wvcase@304 Yahoo, wvcase304@yahoo.com. And we'll go ahead and bring Larry on. Hey, Larry.
Hey, Les, how's it going?
It's doing great. How's the weather over there? We're getting hammers by some storms here. I think kind of eased up now, but
yeah, we had some lightning there. You heard earlier when we were setting up, and it's raining, but it's kind of calmed down a little bit. So I don't know.
Good. I know it's going to be worse tomorrow.
Yeah,
I guess it's going to be worse tomorrow. So
yeah. Oh well, it's that time of year.
I just want to let you know and let everybody else know that because of the weather, sometimes the internet goes goofy, especially here where I'm at. So if something happens, folks, we'll try to get it fixed or figured out. If not, just might have to cut it short. But I think if it does go out, I can get on my phone, jump on my phone, and start it there, and still keep it real here, and let everybody know that may happen. So Larry. We met a few years ago. We've become friends. I think we talked first over Facebook. You shared some stuff with me. You shared your recorders and stuff that you build, your LDRs, your long duration recorders, and then we finally met through a mutual friend, and we've been friends what 3-4 years maybe.
Yeah, and I think it's 3 or 4. The first time I met was up at Laurel Fork up there. We were up there camping out, freezing our butts off. So.
Yeah, that was during one of your expeditions that you put on for people, right?
It was an East Coast. We have East Coast expeditions. It's a lot of BFRO guys. We do our own thing where we don't do the true BFRO expedition. We just get together, pick a spot out, and we want to go there, and we just do a Thursday through Sunday camp out, do investigations. Trying to see if there's any activity in the area. It's mainly kind of more of a scouting, I think, more things. Right. And then sometimes we get in there and we get some activity, and we go back a few times. We had a couple of places over in Virginia we've been a few times. And here where we were up in West Virginia, up in Randolph County, we've had quite a bit of activity up there, some knocks and some vocals, some rock throws and some other stuff up there. It's such a large area that when you get into the Monongahela, it's almost 1 million acres, and there's so many places to go that are. There definitely is. That's one of my favorite places to go. I like going to that area where we was at. I like going to Osceola. As a crow flies, probably isn't more like 5 or 6 miles maybe. I mean, but if you wind around the roads, it's a little further. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I enjoy that area. It's definitely one of the cool areas that I like to go to.
Yeah,
I like it is. It absolutely is. So like I ask every guest before we get started, really, just tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about Larry, outside of Bigfoot.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm grew up was born and raised in rural Kentucky, right outside a little town called Winchester. It's kind of between Winchester, Lexington, southwestern Clark County. My family had a lot of farms there. Grew up there, graduated from high school in Winchester, George Rogers Clark. Went to University of Kentucky on a music scholarship. Was a tuba major, believe it or not, and spent some time there and got through there. And after college, I decided I really didn't want to teach. I was music ed, and so I went in the restaurant industry. I grew up working in a restaurant. Our next door neighbors owned, and so got into the restaurant industry, traveled around from Lexington to Nashville to Louisville to Charlotte, where I met my wife, Wendy. We've been married 33 years. So we don't have any kids. And we lived in Charlotte for 10, 11 years. Then we moved to the Outer Banks of North Carolina. We were out there almost 25 years. Beautiful area, no Bigfoot though. I mean, we're out there, and I learned to really offshore fish, do a lot of surf fishing and things like that. And the first thing I really got into, and then we've been there, and then we moved back to West Virginia. It was 5 years ago. We moved back. My wife's from Clarksburg, and her mom was not doing well. She'd already lost her father, and her mom wasn't doing well. So I found a job here, and she works remote from home. So we decided to leave the Outer Banks, sell the house, move out here. We're in Bridgeport now. Like it here. Winters were a little tough to get used to at first after coming out of North Carolina. But we've had such warm winters lately. It hasn't really been too big of a challenge.
Yeah.
We've been here, and I'm retired now. I got out of the restaurant business in the end of 2020. COVID kind of did me in. I was ready after nothing was the same after COVID. It didn't seem like, so I decided to retire. My parents had passed away, and my wife still works. We're still here, and like I said, I'm retired. I got a lot of time. I just recently purchased a little camper, which I'm happy about, so I can get out more. At my age, I get tired of the tent.
Right.
Like I said, I've sworn off tents for the rest of my life. And so we're here now, and got a lot of Bigfoot friends. There's a lot of BFRO investigators and less in the area. There's got tons of people out here. And what an area, if you're interested in Bigfoot, to live in. I mean, I think West Virginia, as far as forests and wild terrain, and it's crazy. So that's kind of a little bit about me. And I got into the BFRO in 2012. No, it's 2013, excuse me. And so I've been in a little over 10 years now. My first expedition was in West Virginia. It was over near Davis. Had a good time over there. I've been on about 35 expeditions since, not just BFRO, but ECE and some other private. A guy named Charlie Raymond down in Kentucky with Kentucky Bigfoot Research. He throws 2 a year, so I've tried to go to those because be in my home state. And we've had quite a bit of activity on his. And I've been all the way as far west as Land Between the Lakes and South Carolina, Kentucky, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, North and South Carolina, and Georgia. I've done investigations or expeditions, I should say.
Awesome. So before all that, or I can't say, I guess you say, how'd your interest come to be with Bigfoot? Was it?
Well,
I know you had experience, but
yeah, well, I started reading about it and stuff. When I was growing up, I must have been like 10 years old or 11. Our local theater showed the Patterson-Gimlin film. There was an old, I've seen the whole video of it, or it's like a little movie, and it had some of the old characters on there. and Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin and some of those old time guys. And they showed it. And then they showed the Patterson or the actual footage, and they showed it, did all that stuff. I mean, this was old time. This was like the early 70s, right after, it was in 67, the Patterson Gimlin film. And I guess they kind of did a tour with this during this time period, trying to make a little money and do some things. And I saw it then, and it piqued my interest. I was it was pre-junior high. I was probably 5th, 6th grade, I think. And I told my dad, I said, I think that thing's real. My dad goes, boy, it sure looks real. He's talking and this, and we were kind of debating it on the way home and this and that. And I said, that thing really looked real. I don't think that was fake. I don't think that was a costume. So I kind of got out from then. You go to college, get school, kind of, I didn't have time. I was working in restaurants. You work a lot of hours. And did you get married? And then finally one day back in, I guess, 2008, 9, I found the BFRO website and started reading a lot of the reports, checking out stuff around my house in Kentucky, places I'd been. And then I didn't even realize, but then I saw that they have expeditions. You can place some money and go, and they take, a lot of really experienced guys. The first one I was on was hosted by Russ Jones, Dr. Jones, and Darren Pravarnik, and they're in West Virginia. And so I did that, and I kept going since.
Awesome. So is that how you got into the BFRO? I mean, I think used to, if I remember you telling me you had to be invited in, correct?
Yes, you have to be invited in. So I went to the 2012 West Virginia with those guys, and then I went to the next year, 2013, in the spring, the Kentucky expedition that Ronnie Powell had in Kentucky, and I went that. And then I went met with Matt Pruitt, and we went down into, this was a little before that. It was early March, really cold down. We were down in extreme southwest North Carolina, went on a little expedition, met him, became part of he had a little subgroup, Southeast BFRO, he called it. And that's when he was really active in the BFRO. So I met them, and then I got invited in, I guess it was in June of 2013. I got invited, and I've been in since.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, since you've been there, I want to go into your experience you had in West Virginia here in a little bit.
Okay.
And I mean, you say you don't like to be intense anymore. I think it might be one reason, in my opinion.
Probably is.
That's a little teaser, folks. You'll enjoy this. But what's some of the stuff or things you've experienced or seen while on these expeditions that's I guess concreted your belief that these things are out there?
Well, we're not going to get into the first night on the 2012 expedition. I was with the group as Tyler Bounds was leading the group at the time. He was he was helping with finding Bigfoot, and he had some like $35,000 FLIRs, thermal imagers and stuff. And I was lucky to get in his group, and we were hiking down along the Blackwater River there. And we went back, I guess about a mile and a half. Nothing really happened. We kept feeling like something was trailing us down below on the trail. We were on an old railroad track trail. There was an old, they're all over West Virginia where they used to take all the logging out, all the trees. And we were on this old rail bed kind of walking along, and we got down to a certain point, decided to turn around and start heading back. We'd been out for a while, and we had much more turnaround started back till we got the loudest knock it's still in top 2 of the knocks I've heard. This thing was, they said, oh my God, that's a home run knock. I mean, it was loud. He immediately ran up with the thermal, started therming over the hill and stuff. Didn't get anything, but we didn't see anything. But that was the only knock we got, and it was that night. It was really, really loud. I was totally blown away at the time because there's nothing in the woods that makes that kind of noise. I mean, he would have, if the woodpecker was big, he'd have to be like 8 feet tall to do that. And so we go back. I've heard a ton of vocalizations. Some of the best vocals I've heard were in the Uwharrie National Forest. Just long, drawn out howls. A lot of times the coyotes will kick them off, and then the howls will come in. And that same expedition, there's some guys that were in another group, had a thermal imager, and they had a thermal Class A. There were 6 of them, I think, in the group with Brad Keenan, who's an investigator over in Columbus, Ohio. He was there he's really good friends with Russ. He was leading the group. And there was stuff that just went on, like weird stuff. We were changing one night, me and 3 or 4 putting on our gear to get out in the field, our heavier stuff. And heard something over down into the Blackwater Gorge there. I don't know if you know where the cabins are there. The newer cabins, we were over there. We had one of those as base camp. I heard it sound like an elephant. I mean, it was crazy sounding. I've never heard anything in the woods like that. And, this is my first time. I've been out. I hadn't been tent camping since I was in high school. And so we did that. And I've had I had a Class A sighting in Western Kentucky, I'll get into later. I've seen some really impressive tracks. I personally have never casted one myself. I've casted them in groups. Knocks, I've heard numerous knocks, whoops. One of the best whoops I've ever heard was up in Forbes State Forest up here in Pennsylvania.
Right.
And which isn't too far north of us, not very far away. It's a little northeast of Morgantown. And we heard one of the best whoops. The ones that Charlie out in West Central, I won't give the location because it's still an active research area for Charlie. And lots of stuff. I heard an Ohio howl there, recorded an Ohio howl there. Myself, we knew there was nobody. None of our guys were they were not doing any night hikes in this area. It was down toward the river, very steep area. I've never been bluff charged. I've had friends had rocks thrown at them and stuff. I've had sometimes it's like 1 out of every 3 expeditions seems like to me you get into it where it's you. A lot of times it'll be somebody else's group, whatever. It's just choice of if you pick the wrong group. Some nights the guys get tons. They go on the right trail, they'll get tons of activity. And other nights, nothing. You just never know. And I like to set out recorders. I've gotten quite a bit of. I've got one recording there from the Davis area. I call it my 800-pound hoot owl. It's just like, ooh, really low, and there's no way it's an owl, but it's imitating an owl. And lots of knocks, howls, and other things. You pick up things, like barred owls and coyotes and all that stuff. It's just great to hear nature on that. But I had a Class A in Land Between the Lakes. I'll tell that location because it's a big area.
Right.
And if you've never been there, I highly recommend it. It's probably the spookiest place I've ever been. There's cemeteries, old graveyards everywhere.
Right.
We've had orbs photographed along the tombstones and stuff. Crazy stuff. And there's been, the alleged massacre happened there. I don't know whether there's a lot of dogman reports there. Bigfoot, dogman. If Bigfoot's scary enough. If I saw a dogman, I'd never go back in the woods.
Right.
I just don't think that just scares me. It
Yep.
goes back to old TV commercial I saw when I was a kid growing up with this guy changing into a wolf man.
Right.
Time lapse. It scared the hell out of me when I was a little kid. But the expedition, it was our second year down there. And first year we had a little bit of stuff go on, not a lot, but the first year we got there, or the second year, first night I got there early. Me and Charlie Raymond got there a little after me, and another guy named Ron Leatherman. Ron and I always had a contest so you could be the first one at the site. before the expedition. We'd always show up on Tuesday or Wednesday when it starts on Thursday usually, and get in there and get set up. But we got there the first night. There was weird lights. I mean, just green and red lights. We thought maybe it's along Kentucky. We were right on the banks of Kentucky Lake, which is a large body of water. It's the Tennessee River's dammed up.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of barge traffic and stuff. We thought maybe it was barges. There was no barge. You can tell when the barges go by because they got the big spotlights and stuff as they go through the channel there, and weird lights and stuff. And that was the night before the expedition started. The next night, we went down this road, this little Forest Service road. They're all over the place up there, just for fire breaks and control and access to Kentucky Lake. You can access the lake there. And the first night, guys went down, and a bunch of them, they had numerous knocks down through there, and there was 3 of them in the group. They got 3 knocks. First thing, bam, bam, bam. We kind of theorized that maybe that was just to tell the other Bigfoots there's 3 people, or whatever. Yeah. We had that happen and stuff. So we went back to that spot the next night, and we split up. It's actually at a 4-way crossing where like this, where 2 forest roads intersect, and it's almost, it's great. So I stayed with another guy, and we stayed right there at the crossroads. The group went down the road to the south, north, east, and west. They all went different directions, and we were timing our responses, or not our responses, but we were going to do time wood knocks. So on the 15 minutes, the 15 after the hour, this group was going to go at 30 past, 45 past, and back on the hour. When it came to our spot, I did the knocks, and lo and behold, right across the road from us, we got a response. It was close. And I immediately walked up into the road and was therming into this. It was really thick underbrush and stuff. It's really thick there. And the group that went, I'll say, down the one way, it was 2 young ladies, Suzanne Faircheck was in the group, and they went down, the 2 of them did. And they were going down the road. They were down there probably 200 or 300 yards, and started back. And I was worried about them because those knocks were there. Everybody was having a lot of stuff going on, and was kind of worried about them. So I got up and walked over and started therming down the road. And after I got over there, I was therming. I was kind of looking down there, and we got on the radio and asked them if they were all right. And we think we found a track. So they shine white light on it. Mm-hmm. And it illuminated. When you're in the dark like that, white light, it just it was almost like the sun.
Right.
This Bigfoot crossed halfway between us. It was about 80 yards, I think, for me, and 80 from them. They had started back up the road a little bit. And when they found the track, and it crossed the road, it was massive. And it crossed the road. I didn't see the face. All I saw was the shoulders, legs, arms, and the outline of the figure, its body. And it was moving. It went across about 25 feet in 3 steps. And so I immediately got on the radio and talked to Charlie, told him I thought I'd had a sighting. And so they came up there, and we did some recreations and stuff. So that's it's not a true, it's class A minus, B plus, whatever you can call it, because I didn't see a face, but right. I'm pretty sure what I saw.
Well, you're bringing up class A and class B. We had a question here. We'll just jump on it real quick. Okay. Danny wants to know, can you explain the classing of sightings?
Sure, be glad to. Class A is where you see something and you absolutely know what you saw. We like to say you see the face, you see the arms, a lot of detail. You definitely know what it was. You saw a Bigfoot, you saw a Sasquatch, or something you couldn't explain. Class B is anything other where you get knocks, whoops, vocalizations, tracks, and so that's other stuff. A lot of times for us to do an investigation with the BFRO, we like to have more on a class B. We like to have more than one thing. If it's just whoops, or vocalizations, we usually will contact, but we won't publish that sighting because we're all volunteers and we get swamped sometimes, especially when Finding Bigfoot was on. I mean, we got in the fall, it went crazy, and so we decided to really stay on the class A's, but some of the good B's where you find a track, you have a whoop, a lot of multiple things, and then we would do some stuff there because that really indicates that there is probably a population in that area. Class C is kind of hearsay knowledge, nothing really. We'll keep it in the back of our minds. It'll be in the database. We have a database called FLATS. It's a follow-up and tracking system. When people have a sighting and they go to on the BFRO website, BFRO.org, they fill out a report and they submit it into Caroline Curtis, who is the secretary of the BFRO. And they do it by state, county, locality, and then she'll put it out it goes into FLATS, and it'll go under by state and stuff. And the investigators in that state will, deem it whether it's worthy of a follow up, where we call or talk to the witness and talk to them and everything. I've had witnesses, grown men, crying on the phone when I called them and talked to them. One had rocks thrown at him, thought he was going to die down in the Uharis. He was a biologist too, and out of Florida. And he was basically crying on the phone. He was just scared. I've had numerous people. I had a girl, I had to tell her that she thought the thing was going to hunt her down because she saw it and stuff. So we do that. But then what we'll do, if it's really good report, we'll interview the witness, and we'll classify it either an A, a B. If it's a C, it'll never be published. It'll just be there for investigators to look at. Those of us, there BFR investigators that have access to FLATS. And so we'll publish it, type it up, publish it. We put the weather conditions, the moon phase. We do a northwest, southeast GPS mark. Something we don't give the exact location, but we give you an idea where it is at. A lot of times the people don't want to, and we'd never tell people's names. We try to keep them private for them. We don't want to be bothered and pestered by people, naysayers or whatever. So it's a really good system. It's developed by Matt Moneymaker. Developed it way back when he founded the BFRO. He's really good with websites and website design and stuff. So he designed this, and it works really well. So it's amazing when you first get access to FLATS as an investigator, when you open it up and see all these reports. I mean, it's mind-boggling sometimes how many sites, and we've only 10% maybe have been published reports.
Right.
So,
well, since we're talking about the BFRO here for a minute, Hope wants to know, I'll put this one up here too. She wants to know, why is it by invitation to be a member of the BFRO?
Well, first off, we want to make sure you're fit in with the group, that you're not somebody that's just out to, I won't say crazy or kooky or something, but we want to get you out and let you meet with everybody, make sure you get along with people. It's as much social getting along with everybody. Some of my best friends in the world are BFRO people I met on BFRO expeditions. And we just want to make sure you fit in, that you're looking at it from a scientific and open-minded view, and that you understand we're a no-kill organization. We don't believe in killing anything. We're there just to study and, to get them recognized. My main thing is I just want to see them recognized as a North American ape hominid, whatever, relic hominid, whatever they are. And so they just, we want to make sure people go. You need to go on a couple of expeditions. Then the investigators, if we like you, we'll nominate you. Then we'll send it into Matt Moneymaker and tell him why we think you should become a member, and then to send you out a membership and get you in so you can join FLATS and do investigations and interview witnesses and all that stuff.
You got clicked on the wrong one there. Got another one. Since we're still on that, do you have to have a sighting to be in the BFRO?
No, you don't. Nope. You just have to have an interest and really want to get out and learn and we try different research techniques we try a little bit of everything. I'm past the point of walking through the woods, pounding on trees and whooping and howling.
Right.
I just don't think that really gets you a whole lot. And
Right.
they come to you, you don't go to them. But just you don't have to have a sighting, just an interest and an open mind, and be willing to add to the group.
And I'll ask this question about how you talking about not have to have a sighting. How many investigators do you think that are part of the BFRO have never had a sighting?
Great deal.
Great deal.
They're rare. I mean, Class A sightings are rare. I mean, Charlie Raymond's never had a sighting. I can tell you, some of my friend Charles Kimbrough's never had a sighting, but they're out in the woods a lot. Monongahela, the guys that I know, there's very few. But then there's some that have. Suzanne Ferenchek, I was with her this weekend, and she's over in Ohio, and she had one jump across the road in front of her, off a bank all the way across the road in the air. Then had one visitor at her house. If you ever watched the movie The Back 80, it's about her sightings and stuff. She had one come up on her porch and touch her on the back. And there's a lot of different degrees. A lot of people have had more thermal sightings. It seems like the majority of the sightings we get are road crossings at night. Right. So I keep a traffic cam, road cam on my truck going all the time, especially right here in West Virginia. I mean,
I do too.
You don't know what's going around the next turn. It could be, could be a bear. It could be the wildlife is here.
Okay, you were talking about when you were talking about the Land Between the Lakes, and you were talking about lights and things like that. Recently, in the past week or so, Matt Moneymaker has actually come or has posted on his Ohio Bigfoot or the page on there, the BFRO page, about lights and orbs, and he's also even talking about zapping. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, because I know in the past Matt was really not, he didn't really. I mean, he may have mentioned it here and there, but he really didn't talk about that a lot. He didn't kind of, I guess, accept it or acknowledge it. But it seems like he is here recently. I mean, and again, what's your thoughts on it?
I think the thoughts on it is it's happening so much. There's so many reports coming out. I mean, we saw him in Land Between the Lakes before we had my sighting or we had any other activity. We saw the night before my sighting too. I failed to tell this was we had a red orb up in the tree above us. Myself and a guy named John Baranchuk. He's a psychologist, and he's written a book on Bigfoot stuff, and it's just odd. I mean, they're just there. It seems like on a lot of Class A's, people have them. I've only seen them in the Land Between the Lakes. I've never seen them anywhere. I was up in Pennsylvania the same night we had the whoop. This guy with a Pennsylvania group had talked about this big orb that came out of the woods. He was sitting up there, just sitting there, listening and watching. Said it came out of the woods, came down, went across in front of him and stuff. Numerous people with it. I think when you have that many sightings and many people encountering that, you have to start taking it seriously. And these things, they've got, I don't know what kind of special powers they've got. I don't know if there's portals or whatever. We know so little still, even after all we've done. But they have there's odd things that happen when they're around. I was with a well-known author, Bigfooter, Tom Powell was with us this weekend, and he's got a 4th book coming out and talking about he's going to be getting into a lot of really deep stuff about underground worlds and these things living underground with aliens and stuff. And I don't know if I'm that far off the flesh and blood yet, but it'll be good reading. I mean, you get it, and you got to form your own opinion about these things. Out west, there's a huge group out there in the Oregon, Washington State, California area that really believe these things have the ability to transport portals. I mean, there's some odd stuff that happens. I mean, people saying they brought them home with them, that they brought bad spirits home with them, bad
Yeah.
mojo.
Right.
And so who knows? And so it's you got to acknowledge what's going on, what people see. If you just blow it off, then it's bad science. I mean, you've got
Right.
to look at everything with an open mind.
Right.
And
I agree. I agree with you very, very much. I'm with you also. I don't know how far off the fence I am. But I'll listen to whatever people are taught, you're seeing, I'll listen to anything they have to say. Um, and I've seen the lights a couple times myself, but as far as other than that, I've not had anything, strange or anything, but I have seen the lights. I can't say they were actually Bigfoot related, but it just happened to be in an area where supposed Bigfoot activity is happening.
sure,
As far as the portal stuff, I haven't seen that. Really not had anybody tell me much, or many that have said they've seen it. I now have seen or have taken reports of other strange things, as far as like, um, I guess you would say shape shifting, maybe.
sure.
I took one of those, was the only one. And the other one, I guess you might say it could have been uh, portal related, maybe. It didn't exactly say, they didn't exactly say it walked into a portal or walked out of a portal. I'll share it real quick. I don't want to take up time from you, but I want to tell you this just to get your thoughts on it. This guy contacted me. I talked to him on the phone. He said that he was driving down a residential road. This, not a country road, a residential road, and all of a sudden his car just quit running. And then the next thing he knows, the street light just nearby like starts to flicker and basically go out. Then he sees this thing come from a grassy area off to the right, comes up onto the road, and as he's sitting in the car, he said I could not only hear, but he said it was more like felt this vibration and humming sound. He could feel it through his body. This thing walks across the road, goes off to the other side. There's a wooded area there. He said it disappears. And I asked him, I said, did it disappear into the woods? He's like, no, it just disappeared. And then he was again able to start his car and the light come back on, and, he was dumbfounded, I guess. But what are your thoughts on that? I mean, you hear about, because we were talking earlier about, I carry an EMF detector with me. You said you do also.
Sure.
You carry a lightning detector, stuff like that. And you hear about these reports where people will hear a buzzing sound or a crackling sound. Do you think that is related to a portal? Which I don't really think. I think it's more like what we were talking about earlier, a static thing or a EMF thing. And then we'll go into, if you don't mind, we'll go into the zapping, with that part. Yeah. But how do you feel like that about that sighting? I mean, you think that's something that's possible?
I believe anything's possible. There's a lot of talk about metallic sounds
Right.
around. Ron Moorhead talks about it in
Yeah.
up in the Sierras. Him hearing metallic sounds. It was like door close. I've heard people
Doors.
say they
Yeah.
hear door, like car doors close.
Right.
All kinds of stuff. I mean, we're all energy. Energy is, who knows how energy can be directed. And I know Ron Moorhead's really into the quantum mechanics, quantum physics of this. And I had to read his book twice before it made any sense. And I had to hear him speak before it was really over my head at first. And because I'm not a physicist and or took any physics at all. And everything's so changed. I mean, quantum mechanics and all that stuff. There's two types of, I guess, ways of looking at nature now, with the natural and then the quantum side.
Right.
And I think anything could happen. I mean, who knows? These things, they can disappear. Sometimes maybe it's their hair, the way their hair deflects light, or I mean, they're engineered, as far as I know, their main purpose in life, I think, other than surviving, is not to be detected by humans. I think they just don't want to be around us. They don't trust us. I don't know how far back that goes, or it goes back to the natives, our first tribes here, the first peoples, whether something happened there, or if it even went back farther, some where maybe some of our relic hominids tried to kill them all or whatever. And
Yeah.
who knows? But there's a definite mistrust there. And it's almost like they're trying to keep a secret. And who knows what the secrets are.
Right.
So, yeah, I definitely think that could happen.
A couple people are saying something about an alien theory. How do you feel about the alien, that these things are alien? I personally don't think so. So
I don't think so either. Who's to say we aren't the aliens and they're the Native American or native people for the earth?
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, it goes back. I don't think there's UFOs seen in the areas, but UFOs are seen everywhere, especially when you're out at night and it's dark and you can actually see the night sky.
Right.
I mean, I've seen a couple of UFOs when I was out in or UPA, whatever you want to call them now.
UAPs. Yeah.
UAPs. And out in the Outer Banks, I lived out there because there's no light. I mean, it's dark out there. The Milky Way, you never seen the Milky Way look like it does out there. And I've seen some strange stuff in the air at night out there, and a lot of people have encountered them. And I don't know. I don't think they're being beamed up or beamed down by aliens or whatever. I think they're here. They've been here, and they may have special powers, but I don't think that ET's bringing them. So that's just my opinion.
A friend of mine and I were talking kind of about that here recently, and I told him, I said, answer this question: what if Bigfoot, is what we would have been or should have been if the aliens didn't, genetically modify us? And he's like, whoa,
Yeah.
So I don't know. It was just a cool question to ask.
Yeah, I've really gotten into some of the stuff on the secrets of Skinwalker Ranch and stuff. Some of the stuff there, and looking at it and going, they have a lot of shapeshifters there and stuff, they think. And so who knows? I mean, there's a lot of mysteries in the world, and I just really don't think that they're UFO related. They may have big coincidence, maybe. I don't know. I know Mount Shasta, that area, they have a lot of weird stuff happening over there with UFOs and disappearances and Bigfoot sightings. So
okay. Do you mind? I mean, we'll talk a couple. Do you want to talk about a couple other things we talked about as far as like paranormal stuff, not Bigfoot related, or can we go right into your to me?
Totally up to you. I don't know if you want to do anything about zapping or whatever.
Yeah. Go ahead. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Zapping. I've got a lot of friends that have been zapped. Matter of fact, myself and Kevin Zork, we had some weird stuff happen to us out in Western North Carolina, outside of Asheville. We were on a hike one night, and I actually saw eye shine up in the woods, and just weird. Our back of our necks tingling. It felt like every hair on your body was standing straight up. That fight or flight. Me, it would be more like flight unless I have to fight. I'm not going to do these things. But, the zapping, Ron Bowles, he's going to give, I've got an expedition 1st of May here in West Virginia, BFRO expedition. And Ron Bowles is going to give a presentation on zapping. And he got hit pretty hard in Tennessee, and he had some health issues afterwards, where some pretty serious things. And whether it's infrasound, as a lot of people want to theorize, with a lot of large animals, lions and tigers and elephants and whales can, vibrate. They can produce sounds way below our hearing range.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and if they can send that like a beam towards something and immobilize it or whatever, or with us, maybe that we get too close and they're not having it, they're not playing, and let you have it. But Lori, I know quite a few people have been zapped, and they say it's not a real pleasant experience. They get nauseated, totally disoriented, and so. But I think zapping. We've talked about zapping ever since I've been in the BFRO. It's nothing new.
Well, here recently, like I said a little bit ago, Matt Moneymaker has actually come forward on his social media
Sure.
about it. And here's one thing he says: everything about Bigfoot suggests they are flesh and blood animals, clearly a species of ape. Mind you, humans are also a species of ape. They have to travel on foot and find food and deal with environmental conditions that they could opt against if they could simply step into a different dimension. Weird stuff, as we used to call it, happens around them sometimes. Some stuff follows them, like orbs and stuff, and some stuff seems to emanate directly from them, like zapping. Zapping is among the weird stuff. This is usually doubted by inexperienced people who merely hear about it, but it is a very real thing for people who have pursued these creatures in the woods many times. Zapping is basically a bodily sensation that varies in intensity depending upon the distance you happen to be from the Bigfoot. That's something he put out recently, and I thought it was I thought it was pretty cool that he actually put that out there recently. I mean, yes.
With everybody, like I say, everybody's mind's open now. It's been going on. I mean, I know the people have been getting zapped for a long time, whether it's like it's EMF, if it's EMF generated or if it's infrasound. I've been wanting to figure out how to record infrasound. I was looking, there are infrasound recorders just to see if you can prove it one way or the other. They're quite expensive. And there are infrasound generators that you can, and the military has been using infrasound for a long time to send long distance communications. I think it almost is like with the subs, the nuclear subs, they use almost like an infrasound type of communication. So it's there. I mean, and EMFs are definitely, we've seen them on a lot of different shows where they get spikes. So,
and not to confuse people, infrasound and EMF are different. An infrasound totally is sound wave. EMF is electromagnetic field, completely different. And the reason I state that is because in that what Matt just released, he talks about a couple investigators. I forget what the area they're in. They were inside the tent, had the recorder running, and they believed they were being zapped. And on the recording, it didn't pick up a low sound. It picked up static interference, and that would suggest EMF instead of instead of infrasound. So, do you believe that it's EMF or do you believe it's infrasound?
I lean more toward EMF. There's so much. I mean, EMF is I think you can generate more of a, I won't say like a weapon, but a straight line, going at somebody. I don't know. The infrasound to me sounds like it would affect everybody around you if it was generating, because that's the way sound waves move. I don't know if you can concentrate the EMF waves and point them like I said, like a weapon or something, where they can, so. But I'm getting a lot of that from, like I said, from the Mystery Skinwalker Ranch. Some of some of the injuries they've had. A lot of them are radiation. A lot of them are other things. I mean, so, but yeah, I think Matt's really opened up a lot here in the last year, 6 months, and we've been doing a lot of stuff. We've really gotten into a lot of with using drones and stuff too. So, but I think the EMF and the who knows? We got to figure it out. I think it'd be easy to, with the right equipment, just getting the animal to cooperate and do it, being in the right place.
Yeah.
In hitting somebody. I'd love to have, there is recording from Ron Bowles's recorder out there. There is a recording. I don't have access to it now, but of him being zapped, him talking, and the other, it was actually from Ronnie Powell talking to him. You're right, Ron. He went down. He's a big man too. He's probably 6'4", 6'3", 6'4", big built guy. So, and it's happens quite a bit.
Yeah, I see someone put extremely low frequency. Yeah, that's in the same vein of, these the sound, but like I said, EMF's different.
Yes, totally different.
Yeah, but how can you? I mean, I'm not a scientist, and I know you're not, and I can see explaining, you know, the ultra or the low sounds, because there are animals that do it. Elephants communicate miles, miles and miles apart.
Mm-hmm.
They send it. They basically send it through the ground, through their
Sure.
legs. Then that's how they pick it up. Tigers will actually use it to stun prey. That is a physical thing that's done through certain, your biology. But EMF is something that is, I guess you'd say, electrical. Radio waves. How do you think a biological animal would produce electrical rate or produce radio waves?
I would think through its brain. It'd have to be able to focus that and send it out of their brain. It was the only thing I could figure out.
Okay.
And so, maybe the EMF or the infrasound is more practical, but I think the EMF, there's something going on in EMF areas around these areas. I mean, the EMF stuff around some of these areas that are active. So,
Okay. All right. I still really want to jump into yours, but
yeah, go ahead.
But I want to fill these questions here real quick first.
Okay.
Let me put it up here. Tony Morris, question for Larry. What advice would you give an amateur Bigfoot researcher?
First off, read everything you can read. Get into books. Read. Try to figure out where. Find it. Read. Get your background. Get a good footing on background. The equipment, the basic equipment you'll need. Headlamp. Never go in the field without an audio recorder. Get all that stuff. Get everything ready. Have a good and be a outdoorsy person, because hiking at night or whenever, these things are more active at night, but we still have 50% of our reports are daytime. So just finding an area. If you're in an area that has a national forest or a state park, whatever, get in there and check it out. Get on the BFRO website and just look at your location. Look at reports in your area. Go in, say you're in, we'll say Greenbrier County, West Virginia. Look at where the reports are. Read and look. That's a good starting point to get in there. My advice is don't go by yourself. I think there's too many things that can happen at night. Injury. I'm more about injury wise. I'm not scared of Bigfoots. I'm more scared of humans and somebody taking a fall or breaking your leg or something out on a trail at night and getting hurt. But get in there, be patient. It's not always going to happen the first time. Sometimes you're lucky. I was lucky. I know people have gone many times. We had a guy that was with us from Ohio down on the last Charlie Raymond's, and he was starting to lose a little interest. He said, man, nothing's happened. And guess what? That night or that trip, he was down along a river and they had knocks all around him, all kinds of stuff going on. He says, man, I said, yep, it's just once, you get going, but go in there and put some recorders out at night. Record, try to record things. There's nothing wrong with putting out trail cams. A lot of people say they run them off, whatever. You may get lucky. A lot of guys are going back to using trail cams. Cliff Barrickman was at the Hocking Hills Bigfoot Festival last summer, and he gave 2 presentations. And he was saying, there's nothing wrong with putting out trail cams. Russ Jones has got a whole network of trail cams out.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if Joe Purdue does or not. I know he does a lot of stuff down south.
Right.
And, but getting those things out and just trying. I mean, there's been some weird stuff picked up on trail cams, that whether they can hear them, smell them, whatever. I just think they're really in tune with their surroundings. I mean, you can move something in the woods and a deer will notice it.
Right.
But but if you do put out trail cams, make sure you really hide them.
Right.
You don't want to stick them on the side of a tree.
Right.
First off, you might get your trail cam stolen.
Right.
And second off, though, you need to really hide it. Maybe you got to really think outside the box, I think, to get any good stuff. I think, just be patient, read, get in groups, go on an expedition. The BFRO expeditions are, we charge because we have expenses, insurances and stuff we have to take. A lot of times we have to buy a permit from the National Forest Service. They require permits for any type of per pay event. And they can range anywhere from $500 to $700 a lot of times. Plus then they require this and that, but go on an expedition, find some like-minded people, and there are a lot of local Bigfoot outfits. The groups that get together maybe once a month or whatever. Become a part of that. Go to, you got the Ohio Bigfoot Conference, you got the West Virginia Bigfoot Festival. All these got speakers and stuff. Go in and really try to get yourself really into what's going on, what's happening. I think that'll get you. That's a good starting point.
All right. Yeah, I'll agree with you, Larry. Tony, what I also would like to add to that is, when he says to go to BFRO website, yeah, definitely look at. I do that before I go in the area, but I also I'll do some newspaper research to see if there's ever been any kind of weird sightings of something.
Great idea. Mm-hmm.
Or do old research as far as like newspapers and stuff like that. You'd be surprised that areas that have Bigfoot activity now, if you look into some of the old newspapers and look up Wild Man or Wood Devil or some of the other names that's out there, you will find some of these older newspaper articles that will describe one of these creatures that fit the description, or talk about these creatures that fit the description of what you hear about now. So definitely look into that stuff. And like Larry says, just get out there. That's the best thing to do. Just get out in the woods, find somebody you like to go out with, hike out with. I got a couple of people I go with every so often, but I'm one of the folks that Larry, talks about, likes to go by herself. So one of these days, I hope I don't get in trouble.
Yeah.
Larry, we got one more here before, and like I said, I want to go into your account. It's from Hope. This has always interested me. I don't know how I feel about this subject, but I'd like to see what your take is on it. Oh, let me get it to come up here. Okay. She says, how much do you think Bigfoot migrates up and down the Appalachian Mountains throughout the year? If so, what is West Virginia best times, possibly mating times?
Wow, that's a good question. I used to think they did, but now I don't think they do. I think they'll change elevations. You can go down in areas that have activity in warmer months and go up there in the winter and you get above, 2,000, 2,500, 3,500 feet. That weather changes a lot. The temperature does. We were in an area down in Western North Carolina and down along the river valleys and stuff like that. There were deer everywhere at night. We go up where our camp up this area. It's Fires Creek, and go up this area. There's a horse camp up there where we camped at, and it was cold. We didn't even hardly see a bird up there. And I think they migrate down. I think they use, maybe some of the trail systems, the Appalachian Trail, some of this to travel. They're always, they're going to take the path of least resistance, like almost all animals do. But as far as migrating out of an area, I think maybe I don't know if there's one male. I mean, there's a lot of theories about the family groups, where they're like orangutans, which one male travels around to different females, and or you get like chimps or whatever, or mountain gorillas, where one male stays with his group. So once we found that out, I think it'd be a lot easier. Cliff's done some things out west with tracks, and where he's been trying to catalog individuals, taking tracks and trying to match them up. He's got one, he's darn sure that it travels around 40 miles. It's been, the track system's around 40 miles. I think they're going to go where the food is.
Right.
That's the number one thing. You know, an animal that size has to probably take in 8,000 calories a day, I think is what I've heard is. And, you know, but they're going to go where the food is. I think maybe they're hunter gatherers is my theory on them, is they're going to use the food source. When that food source is depleted, they're going to move around.
Right.
I think they like to know where they're at, and they know it like the back of their hand, and where everything is. And but I really feel temperature wise, you get up in those upper elevations, I think they come out of there in the winter. I can't see anything could live up there when it gets down into below zeros and you got 3 feet of snow or whatever. But there's reports in Alaska. I mean, even though it is in the temperate parts of Alaska coast, which is more like a rainforest, but yeah, I just don't see them up in those upper elevations in the winter. And so I think they may be the part of their migration pattern is just following down for the food.
And I want to add, or that's something you just mentioned something there about food. I want to put that in with Tony's question there about your amateur researcher. Definitely, if you're going down an area to look for these things, you know, look for the accounts that there may be in. But one of the main things you need to look for is there a viable food source, water source, and shelter.
Yep.
If you can find those, and then look for your reports and stuff like that. So definitely, you know, if they're an animal, they're going to have all those. So.
Yep. Great point.
Last one here. It was just a statement by Nancy, and there's something I want to say here, but I'll let you fill in whatever you want to say, your opinions. I'd watch a video of people hanging trail cams out in the open. I think they are being naive. Bigfoot isn't dumb. I agree.
Absolutely. Totally. Great point, Nancy. They're not stupid.
Right.
By any means.
And you were talking about Cliff Barackman a little bit ago, and with the trail cams. I remember watching something here. It was, I think it was Project Bigfoot with Seth Breedlove put out, and Cliff was on there. And he said that these things are smart. Basically, in a roundabout, he said they are smart. They're going to notice something in their area, their habitat. You put a camera out on the tree, they're going to notice it. They're going to stay away from it. I'm pretty sure he mentioned or stated, like, if you're going to put cameras out in an area that has activity, put them on something that's not natural. Stick them on like a cell tower, or a high power line tower, or things like that, because they know that's man-made, or they know that there's going to be things there. People come to those areas, and they're, it won't look as conspicuous, I guess, than what one hanging in 3 miles inside of a wooded area. So yeah, I think that's a pretty smart thing right there. I really thought that was a cool thing he brought up. All right, Larry, we're going to end the show with you telling me and the other folks here about your experience in West Virginia. You're, to me, probably one of the most terrifying, I guess you say I would say terrifying things that I'd really hate to happen if I'm out Bigfooting, camping, or whatnot. So if you want, just lead us into it, give us the story, and see what see what people think.
Yeah, well, we did this all this last summer with Seth Breedlove for the it was my first expedition, 2012. We were in the Blackwater Falls area, Davis. I can disclose that now. I mean, even finding Bigfoot went there. So it's down an area down Camp 70 Road along the Blackwater River. They used to allow camping down there. So our first year there, the host campground, the base camp campground was going to be there at Blackwater Falls State Park. And I looked at that campground and it's wide open and stuff. And I go, man, I can't see a Bigfoot coming up in here. And this area doesn't look what I'd really want to do. So we went down to base camp, and I met a guy named one of the old time Bigfooters, Mark Maisel. Told him, and Mark and I are really good friends now. And I was with him this weekend, and I said, well, she started showing us around. He took us over across the area called Lindy Point. I know Les knows exactly where that is. He had a little blue Jeep Liberty. He drove back there and across two big old rough creeks. And I thought we were never going to get out. I thought he was going to kill us because it's a drop off to the right and stuff. We got back there at Lindy Point and looked at Brown and his place. And as soon as we got out of the car, or his Liberty, there was bear scat and a bear track. I said, no, I'm not camping back here. There was two of us. And so I said, okay, let's go. And he said, well, I got another spot. We're going to take you down on the Blackwater River down in down Camp 70 Road. Said it's right along this pretty area. So we went down, and there's another couple with me, Brent Sipley and his wife at the time. And they were with us. And they were looking for a more remote place too. So we went down. We found campsite 6 down there where it is, and Les has been there. We were there this summer. Wish we could still camp there at night or camp overnight, but who says you can't go there and build a bonfire and sit? But we went down there and we set up our tents there and everything, and got going on the expedition. And the first night right down the roads where we had the big knock down there, and along the river was really low at this time of year. It was late September, 1st October, which everyone knows that's kind of the dry season in West Virginia, and don't get as much rain. So we did that. We did that. The last night we went down, we'd been over hiking and stuff, and I told somebody that I think the guy I was with hiked us halfway to Pennsylvania, to Pittsburgh. From there, I mean, I was worn out. So we went down, and Monongahela, who's our big audio guy with the BFRO, wanted to go down to the end of the road there into Camp 70, where there's a parking lot and there's a bridge that goes over the Blackwater River there. And he wanted to do some call blasting down there. So we went down there and call blasted for probably an hour or so. Nothing really happened. And so we all went back to camp, went back up, built a little fire, we're sitting around. We heated up some soup or something, and we're sitting around. There was no alcohol involved. I'll go to this point. We weren't drinking. I was too tired to do anything. We were just eating some soup, some leftover. I think, it might have been chili we were eating up. But we ate and stuff. By then it was getting kind of late. And so everybody retired, went back to their tents, got in there. There was 4 tents there. There was an attorney from Philadelphia, which I cannot recall his name. Another guy was he was a biology major from University of Maryland, was in a tent. And then the Sipleys were in their tent, and I had my tent. And like I said, this is the first time I'd tent camped in a long, long time. And I had a big cot I pulled in that thing and was trying to stay comfortable. And I'm a pretty good sized guy. I got in there, and we went to bed. I got zipped in and everything, and I could not go to sleep. And my legs were aching. I was tired. And so we were sitting there, and about 3:30 in the morning, I heard something crossing the creek right behind me. My tent was the closest to, or not the creek, but the river. My tent was the closest to the river. The fire pit was kind of in the middle, and I was off down. There's a little tributary stream that moves in goes into the river right behind me there. And I was down there, and started something crossing the river, and rock clacking and stuff. I said, oh, maybe it's a deer, probably some deer coming across, because we'd seen some deer. And a couple of mornings we got up and there was deer coming around. And but this was not quadrupedal. didn't have the little way deer. If you're a deer walking the wild or in the woods and stuff, you know why they sound. And this sounded more like a human walking. They were crossing the river there, which it's kind of a natural fording area there. It's real shallow. There's a sandbar, gravel bar right there. And like I said, the river was way down. So he comes across and is walking across. And I said, man, what is that? I said, it sounds pretty big. And I'm pretty sure there was more than one. And then I heard it come up behind my tent. I heard a sound behind me. I go, oh God. I said, could it be a bear? I was like everything but a Bigfoot at that point. And it wasn't a bear. Bears get in your camp, they tear everything up. It came up, came behind my tent, rubbed my tent, and then I saw the hand on top, pushed down on the top of the tent. I was looking up at it. I froze. I almost peed the bed. I was so scared. I've never been that scared in my life. And it was there, and they came around, and it made that one deeper thing. And then there was another one, I think a little smaller, and it was making like it's chattering, almost like talking sound. And all I heard, my friends were just snoring. You could hear people snoring everywhere. I think I was the only one, definitely the only one that heard this. And it was, they were in camp, and I was laying there. I was getting scared. I didn't have a firearm or a knife or a hunting knife or anything. Not that would do any good. And against a Bigfoot. And I grabbed my truck was right up on the road. It's a gravel road up about, 50, 75 yards up there. And I grabbed my truck and I said, well, this is bad. I'll hit the emergency alarm on my truck where the lights flash and the horn goes off, maybe to scare it off if it gets aggressive or anything weird happens. So I'm laying there, and this goes on probably 15 minutes. I think around 15 minutes. And they're checking out everything in camp. I heard them picking things up, putting them down, and you got to have hands to do that. And we even had food out, and they didn't touch that. And then we had this tarp behind it. We'd had a cold front go through earlier in the day, and it was real windy, but the wind had died down that night, and it was still back there. It started like something started rolling on the tarp, like rolling it, like you would roll up a tarp. It went on and went on, and finally it quieted down. Man, I had to go to the bathroom so bad I couldn't stand it. I was scared. And finally they left the camp, and things got quiet, and I kind of lay there. I finally dozed off and woke up the next morning, and the Shia Sipley was there, Nashia and Brent, and I told them that we'd had visitors in camp that night before. They were like all excited. I told them what happened. I said, y'all aren't gonna believe me. I said, this is what happened. I told them the whole story and everything, and how this thing it came through there. And I said the chatter was just so weird. It wasn't like samurai chatter, but real close. It was a higher pitched voice. The one was, and on the bigger one, all I heard was the like noise, and that really scared me. That was part that probably scared me the most. And but it pushed on the tent and everything, and then we got up, started. Well, so let's go look around so we find any tracks. But it'd been really dry there. But we got down next to the river on that little sandbar. We found half a track footprint, and it was only the toes, midfoot up to about the toes. The heel was still in the water. It was wet. So I called Russ Jones and the expedition leader and told him what had happened. He wanted me to come over. They were all at breakfast at the lodge at Blackwater Falls State Park. They have a really good buffet breakfast back then. So I went over there and I was telling him everything went on and on. He had to get back to Charleston. So Darren Bavarnik came over with us and to the side, looked around. He saw the track. We attempted to cast it, but there's so much water. We were not real good at casting at that time. It takes a lot of practice to really get good at casting, especially in a wet environment like that where the water and everything comes up. And so we casted it and got a partial print, kind of, and but it was a crazy night. That was the last night. Next day I had to load up and go home. And the next year I came back and camped in the same spot. We found another track down the riverbank that time, but I think we kind of dismissed it as human. And I used to have pictures of it, but I've lost that camera since then in a move. And yeah, it was quite an adventurous night. Scared me. I had nightmares for a while. The next time I went Bigfooting was in March, and we were down in Western North Carolina. It was cold, and I woke myself up the next morning kicking the side of the tent in a bad dream and stuff. So it is, and if they wanted to hurt me, they'd have got me. There was no way. They'd have got all of us if they wanted to hurt us. And so I think they're curious. We've had some other things there. The Sipleys had the next year had a pop-up camper down farther down toward the bridge. I think it was site. I forget what site number it was. They were down in there, and something came up and started messing with their water nozzle at night, the shower head and stuff. And it messing around with them, they heard it. I think it's just like not a juvenile, but an adolescent down there that wants to mess with people, or it was then at the time, being over 10 years ago now. But we had a lot of activity there. It's kind of died off. They kind of did some clear cut logging down there and some other stuff. There's a lot of I forgot to say that across the river there a couple of times we thought we saw things moving before the night, the day before, whatever. We thought we saw something brown over in the woods or something. It's hard to tell because the leaves were changing. Everything's back there, and there's a lot of mountain bikers that go through that area. There's all kinds of mountain biking trails back there. So it's a beautiful area. It scared me, but it got me hooked big time. So I'm still going to this day.
And it's definitely an area that's had its share of reports. There's even reports dating back in the early 60s all the way up to present day. There's one that I guess has become known as the Canyon Monster, a sighting from the 60s. So yeah, it's definitely an area that I like to hang out in. That area, the Davis area, the Canaan Loop area.
Canaan Loop's beautiful.
Yeah, it is. And actually, the Canaan Loop areas where I found my first track in 2020.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's a hot area. They're there, and so we had a hill over on the other side of the state park that we hiked in at night, and that's where the guys got the thermal Class A, where they watched it. I think it was around 15 minutes. Watched it, and lo and behold, it was the only thermal we had that didn't record the whole trip. And that was back when there weren't many thermals out. Now it seems like everybody's got one. And it's a great area. One of the most, Tucker County, that whole area, Tucker, Pendleton, Randolph, all those areas, Pocahontas. Those are really hot areas, those counties.
It sure is. Nancy said, great story. Used to tent camp. Best way to camp.
Yeah, until you get old.
I still do tent camping. I also do. I have my little camper. I have my truck set up. I also I like hammock camping. So I do all kinds.
I got a lot of guys that hammock camp. Monongahela, he likes to hammock camp, and I got another guy, Ben, who's coming. He's military. He likes to hammock camp. I just told him one of these days you're going to become a Bigfoot burrito. I told one of them. But like a tent doesn't give you much protection, but
it gives you that mental security, though. It seems like it.
Absolutely. Yeah. If I don't see it, it can't see me, kind of thing. But they really listen. They really like the snoring, man. When it starts snoring, that's when they come around. And at 3 a.m., it seems to be the magic hour. Right. To me, 3 a.m. to daylight seems to be their hour that they're the most active. That's when I get most of my recordings and all that stuff, is around that 3 a.m. or right after dark, dark 30 to about 9 o'clock. It seems to be a lot of hours. A lot of guys like to go out early and get set up. I remember I remember when you were camping in your van, when you had your van.
Right.
Randolph County. So we left him up on a pipeline up near that night. We'd been sitting there all night. Nothing much happened. Les went sleep.
Yeah. I was tired. I'd been out. That's the same. The prior couple days, I was with Seth Brelow and them filming, and it was up the wee hours in the morning. And I was like, I come down to meet you guys, and we went up on the hill. And I remember sitting in my front seat. You're all sitting around in chairs and by the fire, and I was like, I'm gonna sit in my front seat. Next thing I know, I wake up in the middle of the night. There's nobody around. Nobody. They left me up
crashed
out.
out.
I crashed. I was out.
It's a good area, though. Good place.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Well, Larry, I want to thank you a bunch. Had a great time.
I'm gonna throw up an advertisement out there, and I've still got some slots open for the BFRO
Absolutely.
expedition in May. So if you do, just get on the BFRO website and click on, and Carolina can direct you to whatever. But there are a few more spots open, and I got one in the fall also, and I don't know when that one. Usually the fall ones fill up a lot faster than the spring. So I've already got a lot of people starting to sign up for the fall, which is pretty cool. We had one last fall down near Marlinton and had a pretty good thermal hit there where we got a really good thermal video. So, but yeah, well, I thoroughly enjoyed it, Les. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I'm happy you come on. You're a great wealth of knowledge. I've come to you on a few occasions to talk. We've chatted about certain things, and
Sure.
we've went back and forth about how you feel about certain things, how I feel about certain things. Getting our opinions from each other, or sharing our opinions with each other. And I think that's what we should do.
Absolutely.
You may have a way of doing stuff. I may have a way of doing stuff, but your way may be a better way. You never know what's on the other side of that door unless you open it. So
absolutely
find folks out there that,
yeah. And we started when Charlie Raymond, the KBRO kind of, and the BFRO, that was kind of, we all started working together. So, man, this group's fighting among each other is crazy. We need to work together. So
I'm just answering somebody here.
Okay, got another question.
No, just somebody commented. They just said thanks. They said great show, and I said thanks.
Oh, thank you.
So, yeah, great show, Larry. Always a pleasure.
Yep, we'll have to get together at Cracker Barrel here again.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometime soon, very soon.
Yeah, I'll get this expedition out of the way. I'll have a little more free time.
All right. Yep. I got a couple things coming up. I'm going to be doing. Well, you got the festival stuff coming up. Bigfoot Festival. Couple
That's
other
big this year.
Yeah. A couple other. What in May? I got one in May. The Bigfoot Festival in June. So yeah, I got a few things, but they're not like jammed up. So we'll get together for sure.
Sounds good.
All right, Larry. Thanks again, and stick around here. I'm going to put you in the background, and we'll chat soon right after we're done.
Okay.
All right. All right, folks. Thank you for coming. Thanks everybody for coming. And again, we want to thank Larry. I really enjoy Larry's talk. He and I've talked several times over the years. Like I said, great wealth of knowledge. You got a lot of stories, a lot of experience, and yeah, great man. Again, if you want to come on the show, you got experience you want to share, Bigfoot related, ghost related, UFO related. It doesn't matter to me. I'll talk about it all. Just hit me up on West Virginia Case 304 at yahoo.com. Next week, I keep forgetting to do this at the end of each show. So I'm going to have to remember. Next week, we actually have Linda Sigmund on, and she will talk about her Bigfoot experience and something that I think you all will like that happened to her in Point Pleasant. So until then, we'll see you again next week. It's always 7 o'clock on Thursdays. Have a good night, y'all.